when I made the decision to start my own business, I was doing what I was brought up to do and what my dad taught me to do, which was wonderful. The work ethic, the nose to the grindstone, provide for your family, be there, be present. But it was, you have a job with a 401k and a pension, you hold on to that with a death grip and do your very best to go as far as you can go in that. And what I found was, yeah, that's great, but it's killing me inside.
Today's guest is Dr. William Ramey, a leadership development pro who brings together behavioral science, military experience, and a seriously creative approach to helping teams thrive. From running Lego Serious Play workshops to hosting his podcast, Leadership Decoded, Will makes leadership practical, human, and way more fun than you'd expect. In this episode, we talk about what it really takes to lead well, build trust, and unlock the kind of team performance that actually sticks. Will, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah.
Best dressed guy in the studio. I'm jealous. But let me ask you this. So I know very little about the things that you were just talking before we started rolling about how you're talking to large groups, the things you're doing for them. So start from scratch. It's just tuning in. This isn't a radio show or an old TV show on your set where you're just in the rabbit ears.
Oh, I still use that vernacular. Tune in with the rabbit ears. You got to get the antenna, the clicker. Absolutely.
That's interesting. You're like preparing for Armageddon when we have the day
just in case.
You got to keep your skills honed, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah, the work that I do is leadership and team development workshops. And really that spawned from my background in the U.S. Army. About myself, I grew up in Northeast Ohio. And
are you a Buckeye fan?
I am a Buckeye fan. So I'm a Buckeye fan.
You saw the Penn State stuff when you came in here.
I did. I smile a little bit. I get that a lot. I get that a lot from around here. I'm a Jim Tressel fan is what I say. I went to Youngstown State University where Jim Tressel coached.
Okay.
And then he moved on to the Ohio State University as it's known. But
it's all Big Ten.
Always a hometown boy. That's me. I'm a Cleveland Guardians fan and Cleveland Browns fan. I grew up about an hour south of Cleveland in Ohio. Very Midwest kind of culture and work ethic. Joined the Army. When I was 17, I enlisted in the National Guard and got my teeth cut there. That's how I was going to pay for college. Met my wife in college, graduated through the ROTC program, then went on this fun travel and adventure journey of the U.S. Army as an Army officer. Found myself, all over the country. California, spent time in Texas, spent time in Colorado with a deployment in there about 2005. And went to Iraq, deployed, came back, did some other stuff with the Army, spent time as a training and plans officer, spent time as a space operations officer. I got my cool U.S. Army space badge, which looks very much like Buzz Lightyear's space badge there, which is a little known thing in the Army.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What is a space officer? Like, what is
Space officer in the Army? A lot of different things that you can do. So we operate satellite communications equipment, ground-based, looking at signals and things of that nature. They also pair with the intelligence community, looking at imagery. And now the role has morphed into also electronic warfare and how that kind of can help you on the offensive or defensive side of the battlefield. So that space operations officer really integrates at a brigade division level to provide assets and resources to commanders on what they can do non-kinetically on the battlefield. And that really started to shift in the 90s with Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. That was the first operation where the Army used satellite communication extensively. And then as you start to evolve in the world today, you can't communicate without a satellite. You can't. Right. That role is really an enabler of a multi-domain operation.
That sounds really cool. I feel like I could talk for hours about that. But go. I'm sorry.
Thanks
for the
good.
sidebar.
You're good. The sidebar. Yeah. So the work I do now really spawned out of the dissatisfaction with my day-to-day job. I wanted to do more. I wanted more purpose in my work. And I went back to school, as my wife will tell you. She doesn't understand why I love academics and education so much, but I do. I just like being in that environment. So I went back and got my doctorate. I wanted to understand more about organizational behavior and leadership. And I was going to use that doctorate with my experience to help teams understand more about leadership, positive teamwork, constructive approaches to working together. And I wanted to do it in a fun way. So I also got certified in Lego Serious Play, which is a methodology for workshop facilitation. And now that's my focus, is getting out there and helping teams build leaders, helping teams come together to collaborate, to share leadership, to communicate better, so that they can do what they're there to do. I look at my role as a facilitator really more so as in Army terms, a force multiplier. If I have a company that's working on sustainability, or if I have a company that I'm helping that's working on accounting, or a company that's working on healthcare, if I can help that team do their work better, create a more positive environment, create a more effective way of working together, think about how they're going to help who they serve. So in essence, I may not be the prime direct impact, but my secondary effect is going to help them serve who they're serving at their very best. And that's really what got me into that work.
You said you have 3 kids?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have 3 kids.
3 kids.
Yeah, we're blessed. Our oldest is going to be 21, a junior in college. She just took her LSAT and wants to pursue a law degree.
Wow, nice.
Our son just graduated high school. He's going down to the Professional Golf Career College in Bluffton, South Carolina. And our youngest is going into her freshman year of high school. She's interested in a lot of different things. But yeah, we're very proud of the kids, their accomplishments, and just it's fun seeing them grow into their own roles and what they want to do.
Somebody just said, I heard it somewhere. As a 54-year-old, I always forget where I hear things, but I know I heard it somewhere. But it was that your kids don't always listen to what you say, but they always watch what you do.
Oh, I can.
Would you agree
I
with
can
that?
see that wholeheartedly, and that's the adage of your actions speak louder than words, and the whole nine. It was funny. My oldest, she always writes the heartstring pulling cards for birthday and Father's Day, and she wrote a beautiful Father's Day card for me. And in there, it was just how proud she was of me for pursuing my dreams and trying to make a pivot and all that. And so they do see you. They do see what you're doing. And it may not be a formal conversation like you'd have in a work setting where you're trying to mentor or coach somebody, but they're watching.
Yeah.
They're watching.
Maybe they'll text it to you.
I think that's why it's so important to follow your dreams, because you're showing them how to do it for themselves.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think up till about 3 years ago, when I made the decision to start my own business, I was doing what I was brought up to do and what my dad taught me to do, which was wonderful. The work ethic, the nose to the grindstone, provide for your family, be there, be present. But it was, you have a job with a 401k and a pension, you hold on to that with a death grip and do your very best to go as far as you can go in that. And what I found was, yeah, that's great, but it's killing me inside each and every day. But on my priority list, father, husband, provider, resource gatherer, all of that, it checked all those blocks, allowed our kids to have what they want to do. They could get into sports and they could pursue this, and they played instruments and all of that. But I took a step back of, geez, why is my mental health the way it is? Why am I so stressed all the time? And why am I getting irritable here and there? A couple other things play into that, but the frustration of, yeah, I've got a great job and other people would kill for this opportunity, but I'm me and I need to figure out what it is I want to do to get more joy and fulfillment from my work.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are in that place, and I don't know that they ever really do take that leap of faith. Or I see a lot of people going down further and deeper on that path of unfulfillment and dissatisfaction. What do you think was the point that made you shift and say, no, I'm not doing that?
Yeah, there's a lot of risk in that. There's a lot of risk in choosing purpose and passion over paycheck. For me, it was the first time I got up in front of a crowd. I had little hints of it throughout my time in the military, where I got to teach classes to my soldiers and see them learn and put that learning into application and go. But for me, it was the first time I was called back to Drexel to do a experiential learning residency course. And the energy, the excitement, the exchange of information and knowledge, the people in the class who were adult executives having aha moments and knowing that I contributed to somebody's aha moment. They would come up to me after, like, you said exactly what I needed to hear. You gave me something that I can put into practice tomorrow. That light bulb went on, and I said to myself, like, I need to chase this. I need to chase this and see how can I make this my living? How can I make this work for me to where I can do this as many days, each and every day as possible?
Yeah.
And for me, that's really where that moment came on of, okay, what can I do here? How can I figure this out to try to do this more often so that I can serve others and feel good about doing it? And there was a conversation I had with somebody recently, a couple months ago. I was having a conversation. She had just left her vice presidency road to C-suite job with a big Fortune 50 company. And I said, geez, I'm at this pivot point with working and starting my business, and I find more joy in this, and I want to pursue that. And she said something very profound. I didn't realize it until as soon as she said it, it clicked. You can feel tired and drained energy from your job that you're in or the job that you're pursuing with your passion, but they feel different. When you're drained from working within your purpose, you're aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's exactly it. I can come away from a workshop, give my 100% effort, exchange with people, and then want to go collapse in my recliner. But it feels great in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Where I can work a 40-hour work week, get to Friday, melt in my recliner, and I feel exhausted for a completely different reason. But when you're working in your purpose, when you're aligned with what you're meant to do and where you get fulfillment, you can spend that energy all day long, and you'll find ways to refill your tank and bounce back.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty rare for somebody that come right out of school in their 20s to find that groove. What they feel their calling was, or where they're vibing, I guess would be a good term. You think that's where you are right now, or are you getting closer?
I think so. So for me, I'm sitting here, let me do some math. I'll be 44 in August. And it took me 20 years to have that light bulb moment, 20 years of work.
Yep.
So I think if I had to go back and give myself advice, it would be to figure out those things that I like doing. Figure out what feels good about work. Figure out who it is that you want to serve. Who is it that you want to help? People get asked, what would you do if you had no money? Well, I'd stand up paddleboard and golf all day. But I'm not. But but I may not want to make a living around that. So it's more so of, hey, find out who you want to serve. Find out what good you want to do in this world. What makes you feel good about that, and then see if you can make a living around that. And that's where I think you can find those passions. I pivoted careers, probably half a dozen times, and nothing truly stuck. And that was a big light bulb moment for me. I remember it. It's about 6 years ago. I'm sitting at home. I had just got home from work. I'm on my BlackBerry. I'm checking emails, and I finally put it down. And my wife says to me, "Are you home?" I said, "I've been home for 30 minutes." She goes, "No, you haven't." And she pulled me outside. She said, "Let's talk." She had a legitimate concern of, "Are you happy?" I said, "Yeah, I'm happy." "Why wouldn't you think that?" She goes, "Because you're miserable." She goes, "I'm starting to think, is it me and the kids?" Sure. And that's what she said. Because we had moved from Texas to Colorado to here to there. And then she goes, "You need to figure out what it is about your work life that you can do and find some goodness in it." And that to me was the big reflection of, geez, if this is not just impacting me anymore, but starting to bleed out and resonate out and impact my family, I need to find something, figure it out and find something, because just checking those lists of provider wasn't cutting it anymore. And for me, that was the wake-up call to get me back in school and take some risks with my career.
Good for you.
I appreciate that. So as you're starting out in your 20s, take the hard jobs, take the different paths. Don't be afraid to move different places, live different places, find out, explore that a little bit more so that you can pivot. And it's never too late.
I don't think so either.
It's never too late.
Yeah,
to make a change.
I would say it's when you're in your 20s, you don't have a spouse or kids. It's easy to do, but it's never too late. You did it when you had all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about contrast. You don't know sun unless you've had months of rain, right?
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, you have to, I don't know.
You have to get your feet out there.
Try everything and see what really lights you up.
Are you coaching and speaking to, I know you're doing with groups, are you doing one-on-ones as well? Or is that?
I don't. So actually, I did pursue, I got my credential as a ICF credentialed coach. I did a couple one-on-ones. My preference is really groups and team settings.
Okay.
And what I found, though, is I've done corporate, big conferences, 100 plus people, love doing that. 20, 25 member teams, love doing that. But I also have served high school and college students. And to me, that to me is the sweet spot. It might be the dad in me. I don't know. Yeah. Having kids that age of, hey, how can I get in and get these emerging leaders understanding what collaboration means? What does healthy communication mean? What does it mean to be supportive and trusting within a team setting, to translate that into the work environment? I love working with that age.
It's a different vernacular. You got to speak differently.
Absolutely. You can't just take corporate speak and do that. You've got to be able to bring that same It's funny. So I do a workshop with Leadership Lackawanna, and I work in their Tomorrow Leaders Today program, and I work in their executive program. And I deliver the same workshop, but one is catered towards the high school audience and one is catered towards the corporate audience. So as much as it's probably about 80% the same, I have to make those small subtle shifts for the level of knowledge and application.
Yep.
So it's interesting to be able to do, but you're talking the same core concepts.
Speaking of concepts, what is Lego Serious Play?
I love Lego Serious Play.
it?
Lego Serious Play is actually a methodology that the Lego company developed in the mid-90s. When I thought about wanting to do hands-on experiential learning, this methodology really helps people open up. So if you think about it as a communication method, I'm delivering a workshop on accountability and how to get your team as a leader. How can you get your team to be more accountable? I just did this with a client, and we talked through autonomy, we talked through competence, we talked through trust. But Lego Serious Play, what we'll do is, as I go over each one of those concepts, introduce that to the team, then I'll have a question. It's either a how or what question. How might you give your team more autonomy? Well, that's the question on the table. And then what the group will do is they will build an individual answer to that question using Lego. So you start to think about speaking in metaphor. So you can talk about...
I don't need help with that.
Right up your alley.
Yeah. So color, you can assign meaning to color, to structure, to shape, to size. So at the end of, I'll usually give people 3 or 4 minutes. They'll have a tangible structure that represents the answer to the question or statement. So it's like 3D printing your thoughts.
Cool.
It gives people the opportunity to think, to take their thoughts from head to hand to heart. And then the next step in the process is they share the story of their model. So they have to use the model that they built to explain their answer to the question. And what it really does behind the scenes is it gives people space to be vulnerable. Because if I were to ask you a question, how would you build autonomy within your team? Some people may have a step back and, I don't know. I don't want to sound stupid or I don't want to sound silly. But if I say, hey, can you share the story of your model that you built? It gives a little bit of a buffer for those that may need it. It also gives people time to think. And we've all been in those classroom settings where you've got, and I'm probably guilty of it, I'm the first one to answer a question. Yeah. It gives the people that need to think through their thoughts first time to solidify their answer. And then everyone takes the time storytelling. You find is people get a lot deeper into the question because they have time to think it, to build it, and then to explain it. And the people that are receiving that information, now you're not just trying to interpret words. You've got a tangible visual to accompany that. And then the fourth step in the process is I'll bring people back together. What did you hear that was unique? What did you hear that was common? What did you learn? What were your takeaways? What was your surprises? So I've done this with a lot of different approaches you can do, from individual builds to where I've actually had teams that have brought me in to help them do their annual strategy. And at the end of the session, we will have a landscape of models that is representative of their team's vision, roadblocks, leaders' strengths, and the path to get there.
Cool.
So you can do a lot of shared builds, you can do individual builds, but the method is really trying to get people to engage a little bit deeper into a topic in a fun, disarming way.
Wow.
And so do they all get the same question, but in their groups, they're working on their own solution?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And that's where I'll flex this based on size of the group. So I've done conferences with 100 people. The whole group will get the same question or series of questions, and then they'll work on their answer, but then they'll have the discussion at their small group tables. If I'm working with a team of 25, same thing. I'll break them down into groups of 5. So they'll get the experience of having the understanding of diving deep. The trade-off, though, is if I was working with a group of 5 to 10, everybody will hear everybody else's answers.
Yeah.
So, and I always explain that when I'm working with a client of, hey, I can do a group of up to 100. The trade-off is going to be each table is going to have their own experience versus the group having the same conversation. But it works. It works. Flex that, use that. And that's where the fun for me as a facilitator comes in, is drawing out what did you hear from the different tables so that everybody can connect what was said. They don't feel left out.
Can you recall a really cool moment where a team had a big breakthrough or...
Yeah, I actually had a client cry. And for me, and I say that with the utmost respect, because to me, that was the power of the conversation. And I was leading a workshop for STEM, non-tenure track STEM professors. And I was talking about organizational politics and how to navigate organizational politics, leveraging your power sources at work. And we were about the third, I think, we were on our last build. So I was on the third question, the third iteration. And I always meander around, try to listen. How are people doing? Are you engaging? Are you good conversations? Help steer people back if they get off track. And I had a person sitting at one table, and I see tears streaming down her face. I just knelt down. I said, "Are you okay?" She goes, "I'm good. I feel seen and heard." I said, "Okay." And she pulled me aside after. She goes, "I didn't expect this process to bring out such emotion, but as we're going through and sharing our stories of our models, the connection to each other, that I'm not alone, that you're going through this similar to what I'm going through, and now we've got the ability to connect and partner with each other." So to me, that was a big breakthrough moment, because people come in and are like, "Oh, we're going to play with a toy." Yes, you are. And it's going to be fun and awesome. But you also have the opportunity to really dig in and tap into some emotion with what's happening and the topic at hand. So for me, that was a huge one. I see other teams too, when I do a individual build and I'll do a shared build as we're working towards collaboration. They have opportunities to think about how can you collaborate within your team? Great. Now the 5 of you have 5 different ways you want to collaborate. Bring one model that represents your action plan for how you're going to take your 5 approaches and what you're going to do with them. So people are going through this trade space, because you can't just put everything in. You may have to compromise on what you thought, or you may have to figure out different give and take. So seeing teams churn through that and understand what they can give up and what they can get, they come up with these models and these explanations and action plans that they take in that they absolutely love. Time and time again, "Can I keep my model?" I say, "No, you got to take a picture of it, because Legos are expensive."
Yeah, they are. I was going to say, who's buying these Legos?
I said, "But let's take a picture of it, put a note by it so you can capture it, and you can take that with you."
Major life and business changes can really shake things up, for worse, and sometimes, I believe, for the better. As a certified neurocoach, I know that when we are in an area of transformation in our lives that we did not choose, or maybe we did, we're bumped up against our comfort zone. And when that happens, our subconscious mind gets louder and tries to pull us back to where we feel safe. But I know, as a certified neurocoach, that this is the perfect time to take this transformation and turn it into something that you desire, something that you want. This is the perfect time to rewire those old limiting beliefs that have gotten in your way, and let's break free from that in this time of transformation and make it work for you. Let's turn this into a magical moment. I would love to hear from you. You can book a call on my website at mariaconaglero.com. Let's make this transformation last. I took design thinking in college. I'm a designer at heart.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time visualizing what people are building when you say, what does autonomy look like?
Yeah. So
what are they building?
So what I do, I give them, I call it brick soup. So in the middle of their table, they will have all kinds of different Lego bricks, colors, size, shape, bridges, fences, structure, figurines, right? So they will put together, let's see if I can remember, for autonomy, being able to give people space. I think some take more literal approach, some take a lot more liberty with the figurative and metaphor. I had one that was so literal of, they had a plate, they had a person on one end, and they put bricks along the way, like almost like a stepping stone walking path. And they had 3 figurines on the other end. And their explanation was, here's me. I'm giving my team the intent of what needs to get done, which is what these stepping stones represent, but I'm giving them space to be able to execute the work how they see fit. So their visual representation was, when you peel it back, was giving you intent, giving you space in between to operate. And I had another person in that same question, how are you going to give or drive more accountability within your team? And I see this gentleman, he's sitting here spinning one brick. Now I thought I lost him. I'm like, okay, it's late in the workshop. I've lost your attention. I was a little concerned. I see him spinning his brick. I say, oh, hey, did you build your model? You need any technical support? Which usually gives a laugh with Legos. No, you don't need tech support.
Yeah.
He goes, no, I have it right here. I said, okay. And I made a mental note, and I walked back, and he had a brick. It had about 10 pegs. It was one of those little thin little bricks. It was and it was blue. And when he shared his story, he goes, hey, it's one brick, but this represents, I want to keep things clear and simple for my team. That's how I'm going to give them autonomy, with clear direction and simplicity. So he had a one brick answer.
Done.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Metaphor, action, clarity, and simplicity. That's how he was going to give his team autonomy. So you can get as creative and as detailed as you want, or you can keep it as simple as you want. And that's what I share is the power is in the story. Make sure you have a story that aligns, and that brick that you're using has meaning tied to the question at hand.
That's good stuff.
When I left the house today, my wife was like, so what are you doing? I said, actually, we have 2 podcast conversations. And I said, one is a military guy that I really don't know much about, but I think he coaches folks and stuff like that. And just the way she said it, I was like, I watched one of your podcasts.
Okay.
And I was like, he talks about organization and getting the best out of people and really aligning their goals with the company goals or whatever. And she goes, oh gosh, you're going to come away with another bestie. But you are like, you're just like, I'm sitting here just quieter than I normally am because I'm like, yep, I'm digesting. I speak only in metaphors.
Oh man, I really appreciate
It's
that.
kind of annoying, I think, to people around me, but I absolutely love that. I'm always like, nature, life just repeats itself. Your business is totally different than mine, but we go on a lot of the same principles. And we're doing a lot of the same things. We're wearing different things, using different tools. It's just the same rinse and repeat thing. And one of the things that I have really tried to learn more about and become better at is it used to be just me. Now there's like 40 people in both the investment and the accounting side.
Oh, wow.
And what I've become as we've grown is I've become less involved in what's going on in their lives and what's going on just in their side of the office. Like the 3 people that work close together have gotten closer, but I've grown apart.
Yeah.
And there's not a problem, but I don't want there to be a problem. So recently I asked one of the key people in our office, and I said, we don't need you to be any better at your job. You're literally awesome at your job. What we need you to do is teach the others right around you who all look up to you to make them as good, help them get to the level you are at. And she was like on cloud 9, and she should be. She's awesome, a huge part of our company. But normally I would have gone and tried to talk to everybody. But like she knows them better than I do. And it's really hard to hand that off. And so what I love about your exercise is that probably if you gave the same problem to 5 different people, they have 5 different iterations, but really a lot of the same core things. And it's that as an owner of a business, it's the hard part where you try to like, I want you to do it my way. You need to say, this is what we're shooting for. Just get us there. And your way is going to go a little different than mine, but it's still getting the job done.
Yeah.
But you're like, when you said, I'm like, did he say Lego? But that is such a simplistic and effective way to illustrate that. And I love that everybody's having those aha moments.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that's great feedback you gave your team member, by the way. You don't hear that as often of, hey, you're phenomenal at your job.
She is. Yeah.
How can you help inspire and get people to aspire to do things your way? And then that letting go. And that's where some of these workshops go is people realize I've got a death grip on how I want work to get done. But you brought me in to figure out how can you empower your team.
Yeah.
Part of that might be to
be
comfortable letting go. And when you see that, like leading through others is a totally different skill set. And it's those aha moments of, I asked the same question and you're right. You get 5 different answers and they're good answers. That's great. How can you then bring that back into your workplace to bring more voices to the table and to see that outside of that workshop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's my dad to me. He's that guy that always liked to play with those random puzzles that you get and try to figure out how to unattach the pieces and things like that. And sometimes you just literally set it down and come back to it, and then suddenly the answer is there. Or you hand it off to someone and they're like, oh, this isn't hard.
Yeah.
Right. They
It's
just
different
see it.
perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
The perspective, yeah. It's right there in front of you. There's an answer a way through it. You just can't see it. Why not ask the people that are the closest to you that you trust and respect?
Oh, sure.
It's great. I kind of want to be in one of your workshops now.
Oh, yeah. Hey, opportunity strikes. Absolutely.
That's right. We're going to have to look at that.
I
There's
know.
all
We're going to
kinds
be
of-
crashing your party. I check out your
You're
schedule.
more than welcome. More than welcome. Yeah. The more the merrier.
So when you're doing this, do you get people like, I think about talk about metaphors or examples, but I went to a Tony Robbins meeting, seminar, workshop, whatever. And I literally was the guy, I'm like, I'm not going to jump around and clap my hands. And 15 minutes in, I was like, yeah. I'm like, I might as well just do it. And there's a lot of science and theory behind everything he has you do. And by the end of that long meeting, right, I walked out and I'm like, I just feel like I'm a better person. I not that I drank the Kool-Aid, right, but I let myself be taught and be led.
Yep.
And someone who's always on the other side of that, or most often, it was refreshing and it was super vulnerable. Yeah. Do you have people like that sit in your workshops and just, I'm not doing it?
Yeah, I had a...
They get on their phone or something?
I've never had anybody actively disengage during a workshop, but the pre. So usually I'll get there half an hour, 45 minutes early, and I'm getting set up. And you've got people that are coming, got their coffee, they have to bring their laptop out. And I said, hey, unless you're doing notes, you don't need your laptop. You can put it away. I'm trying to set the scene of you're not doing email in my workshop, right? Company is paying me to be here.
Right. Yeah. And they're like, this guy has no idea how busy I am.
Of course not. I've been that guy. I have no idea. But then I'm putting the Legos out into the pouches that I have, setting them on a table. And I literally had a person one time. He's clicking these bricks together. And he says to me, I don't understand what playing with these Legos has to do with understanding shared leadership. And I said, you realize like you're already starting to build something in your hands. And he was doing it subconsciously. He didn't even realize he was putting bricks together. And he was just really standoffish about, I don't know why we're playing with toys. I said, sir, do you realize you're literally starting to play with the toy now before I even gave you a question? No, yeah, you're right. And so I said, what's got you bothered? Oh, I don't know. And he just kept going back to this is a kid's toy. I said, think about it like this. Think about this as a communication method. I said, you play with Legos growing up? Oh yeah, I play with them all the time. I said, what'd you build? Houses, cars, skyscrapers. I said, those are all things that you can see in real life. I said, have you ever talked to somebody and they didn't understand exactly what you were trying to say? Yeah. I said, think of this as a communication method. It's going to help enhance that. I said, wouldn't it be great if somebody was trying to interpret what you said and they had not only the audio, but a visual match? Yeah. I said, that's what we're going to do. I said, I ask you to trust the process. Just trust the process. And if it still doesn't work out, if I haven't convinced you by the end of this, you come up and let me know. Put it into my feedback. Okay. He was one of the most engaged people that day with models were built, stories were told, and he was asking questions about other people. I said, for me, that was a realization of you're uncomfortable about the topic. You're maybe standoffish about trying new things. And where does growth happen? Right there, when you're uncomfortable. And for me, that was a breakthrough moment of I've had people like that, some workshops, having that one-on-one, not calling them out, not standing toe-to-toe and say, this is the best methodology. This is a way. If you can't get on board with it, that's okay. We'll figure out how else you can get on board. But trust it first. Great. Try it first.
I'm a little pissed that I've never thought about Legos. What a great idea.
I know.
I've used so many metaphors in my life. I've never referred to the Lego.
I have a question. So you come and you do this workshop, right?
Yeah.
And then you leave. Then what? You just hope it clicks?
That's the tough part. So I always do a follow-up with the event coordinator. And where I start to try to, this is the struggle, I think, with learning and development is I'm a believer and I'm upfront that learning is not a one-time engagement. It's not a one-time event. You need to have an engagement, a plan, and then follow-up, sustainment. And I get, that's not in my budget. Or, I only have time. I only have enough budget for one event one time. So I try to add value in a lot of different ways of post-assessment, follow-up. I send feedback I always try to collect feedback in the moment. I send that feedback. Here's what the key takeaways that a team had. So you, event coordinator or boss or planner, share this with your team. So you can see what was learned. You can see what was taken away and put that into action as you go. And I close my workshops with key takeaways and reflective writing. At the very least, each person will have 5 to 7 minutes to write down what did you learn I give them same prompts. What'd you discover about yourself? What surprised you about that? What can you put in? What's one thing you can take from today and put into action tomorrow? Who will you connect with to help you be accountable? And when will you do it? So they're getting like a asynchronous coaching
Right.
at the end. So they're self-coaching, essentially.
Yeah.
They're trying to set them up for that success. But I find sometimes it's tough. I've had a couple clients that have, hey, we want to bring you in for over a 6-month period. Here's what we're struggling with. We want to grow the team. We have new people coming on. We want to engage new leaders and our middle managers to build this up, which I find just works in the long run. So we measure progress at points along the way. Trying to offer services, follow-on services to help the learning keep going that don't require my presence is something I'm starting to dabble in a little bit. But it's tough out there because when business needs to contract, one of the first things that typically gets cut is learning and development because it's not seen as a core competency. And I counter that with, okay, but then 3 years from now, when you're looking at where's my bench that I've built up, you're going to look back on today and wonder what happened when I cut those dollars. It's tough. It's tough to do. A lot of the work I do is one and not done. I'm open for more. What's next? And it's just trying to fit into some of the budgets and requirements of clients that I see.
Sure. Yeah.
You guys share a lot of commonality because you work one-on-one with people.
I do.
And he's getting them teed up.
Yes, I know. That's why I'm like, this is very interesting. So Will and I met, but didn't meet. We were at the same 3-day public speaking workshop thing in Lambertville called Heroic Public Speaking.
Okay.
It was a 3-day event. And then we connected later on the socials and we were talking about it. And he was like, I was at the one in October. And I'm like, I was at the one in October. And he was, I was talking to this person. I'm like, I was talking to that person. And we didn't even know.
Yeah.
So that's funny. But yeah, we both are in similar spaces of coaching and speaking and personal development and just wanting to see the world be a better place.
Yeah, I love the
one
work that
business
you
at a
do.
time.
It's about helping people.
Yeah.
Right? So you mentioned it earlier. There's a lot of commonalities in things that people do, and one thing I think is great for collaborating business is just that it's collaboration.
Totally. There's no competition here. I don't.
A lot of people I come across look that way. Oh, you're in leadership development. I'm in leadership development.
Yeah,
like, that's an ocean.
Yeah.
Right? You're in helping wellness and well-being, and people find their way. I'm doing that. Okay.
Cool.
Two totally different approaches, but how can we find that synergy and figure out
Mm-hmm.
how to best serve people? Because when you put people first, I think you'd agree with me. When you put people first, the more resources I can garner to offer you, I may not be the best fit, but Maria is.
Yep.
Let me refer you here. Let me bring in the best person to help you along the way.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
You guys have, so what are your thoughts on this? I have found in my limited experience, because I'm so very young, that there are some amazing ideas and thoughts trapped in the heads of some of the quietest people I work with. And I think I see news on TV, like the loudest voices get the headlines and get their thoughts heard, but they aren't necessarily the best options. Does what you do with folks in these workshops and conversations, does it help to uncover that, I would think? Yeah.
So if you think about the process that I go through with Lego Serious Play, when I pose a question and I'm working with a team of 20, all 20 people are answering that question. It's a form of divergent thinking.
Right.
So you're getting 20 ideas put out on the table.
Right.
You're getting 20 perspectives. All voices are heard. And then from there, then we're going to converge on the best of the best. So when I do my workshops, that's one thing I tell event planners up front is there's no place to hide. It makes people feel comfortable. So the quietest person in the room is going to have the same opportunity to engage, to answer, to connect, to get their voice heard as the loudest, most rambunctious person in the room. It level sets. And that's what I find is that client I worked with last month, one of the newest people, just went from an intern to somebody being hired, was answering questions about accountability and building trust. So you're getting it. And I think they were actually at the table with one of the senior level people.
Okay. Yeah.
Level playing field. Senior person doesn't answer first. You guys are sharing who goes first on what. So they had their voice heard. They had the ear of the most senior person there. They have an opportunity to share their perspective and share their voice. So this method really does help with divergent level thinking. So you don't get anchoring bias. You don't get the hippo effect You familiar with the hippo effect?
No.
No, but I'm
I
self-conscious
know.
about
I'm
it.
like, oh,
Right, yeah. So,
for lunch.
just-
Am I the hippo?
No, the hippo effect, the highest paid person's opinion.
Okay.
So you see this all the time in boardrooms. You see this all the time in rooms. Is the highest paid person, usually the senior person on the org chart, throws out an idea and their perspective.
And everybody goes, oh,
Yeah, that sounds
Okay,
great.
yeah.
Sure thing, boss. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So being very conscious of that, you throw out the idea and then sit back and say, I'm going to give you all time to think about it. I want to hear everybody's answer. It takes more time, but you get richness of solution. So as we're doing these workshops, that's what's coming out directly is everyone's voice is heard.
I might be a hippo at times.
I wonder if one of the byproducts of this, allowing people to be heard and seen and voice their opinions, might shake things up in terms of where people are in their position in the company. Like some people might be better served in another position within the same organization if they're maybe stuck in a place that isn't using their gifts to the greatest ability.
Yeah, very true. I haven't come across that, but I can absolutely see that as you start to get, especially when I work in like smaller, mid-sized groups where people are hearing every opportunity for everybody, which is usually about the 10 or 15 mark. Yeah, you'd be surprised at what people hear and pick up on. And I was with that same client, that corporate leader started talking about collaboration, and that wasn't the topic of the day. It was accountability, but he made a note based off of 2 or 3 people's responses to how can we build trust, how can we build competence, how can we build autonomy, and a lot of it had to do with collaborating and cross-talking and sharing resources and cross-team type work. And he made a note of, hey, it sounds like I need to do a follow-up to get us some more understanding and opportunity to develop collaboration.
Great.
So even in that setting, like people will hear and listen. So if you trust the process and engage, you'd be surprised at who's listening to you. Whereas if you just did that walking around, oh no, everything's great, boss. No, everything's fine. It's good the way it is. But you do it in a setting where people feel comfortable and they're playing, different things get brought up.
Do people have you come back every year to the same group? Or?
I've had a client that brought me back second year, same, hey, it's our annual get together for our leadership team. And that was actually local, and NVP Warranty, shout out to NVP, helped bring me back to do trust and teamwork. And then, hey, we want help with how to have difficult conversations and another topic. And she said, the team requested you, which to me melted my heart. I'm like, I felt on cloud nine.
You felt seen and heard.
I did. I said, yes, a win for me.
Yeah.
They said the team loved your approach, the engagement, and we want to bring you back for another workshop, different topic. What can you do?
Yeah.
My answer is, I can do that. I can figure that out.
Yeah,
I can figure
totally.
that
We
out,
can figure
right?
anything out. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, like at our Stonehouse events, usually like an offsite we do once a year. I'm always in charge of making it fun. And in the last couple of games I've done Family Feud at the end of the day, and it's so funny because the meeting's good all day, but the moment where people actually have fun is when you switch into let's do the Family Feud.
Oh yeah.
And like to see them just go off, and here's people who have been basically wallflowery most of the time. All of a sudden they're in a group of 5 and they're like, no, it's this. And they're coming up to make the one-on-one in the beginning of it. That's really fun. And then this year I asked everybody in the company 3 questions, like a personal question, a business, and then if you could have dinner with somebody or whatever, present or past. And then I put all those answers in a big old grid, spreadsheet, mixed them all up. And then we had a chance to choose one between 1 and 100. And so I just went around the room and you pick a number and it was like, okay, this one's you. If you could have dinner with somebody. And a lot of people said, my dad passed or a famous person in history. Why? The stories, I really wish we had more time for that game because not everybody got to go, but everybody had to pay attention because they didn't know what their numbers were. And I just love that kind of stuff. So as your wealth builds, so does the amount of pressure that surrounds you, right? Maybe your income is still higher than ever and your business has more revenue than ever, but you're also thinking about your family, your employees and their families, debts that you need to pay off, taxes that you want to minimize, cash flows to track, all while trying to stay excellent at your job and innovative within your industry. Our team at Stonehouse helps you manage your personal wealth, whether it's in your retirement plan, your business, or any other place. While you're busy out there conquering the world and trying to take care of others, don't forget about taking care of yourself. Contact Stonehouse to see how we can help make your life better. Do you have situations where team firing or team building backfires? Have there been any bad examples?
I've had.
I know maybe we can edit that part out, but I'm curious.
No, because I'm okay sharing my failures because that's where I learned the most. And I was doing that with a group one time, and I was doing an activity. The topic was collaboration versus competition, because mid-sized organizations, different departments tend to compete with each other versus collaborating with each other. And I set this game up to where it was puzzle pieces. So each team represented a regional group for this global company.
Okay.
The short version of, you had every puzzle piece you needed except for maybe 4 or 5. The other continent had the puzzle pieces you needed. This continent had the ones they needed. So you needed to work together to build your puzzles. And what do people do? Get out of here, North America. We're the Australian team. I'm working on my puzzle. It brings out that natural tendency to compete. And I foot stomp it every time. As the scenario plays out, I hire a global manager. Your role is to manage things globally. What do? They tend to navigate to the region that they came from. So this all played out, and I had one person that was arguing with me that this wasn't realistic. We'd have an HR department for this. This wasn't right. This is our company policy. I'm like, I don't know your company policies. I didn't read into that. I wasn't supposed to. Like, I don't know the intricacies of how your company works. And we're going back and forth and back and forth. And you could tell, like, his colleagues there were just, hey, Stu, I don't remember the guy's name, Stu, point made. Yeah, okay.
Simmer down.
He was irritated because he lost the competition. He, like, the little activity, he started sharpshooting my activity because his region didn't get their puzzles put together. Okay, note to self. Yeah. Next time I got to figure out how to navigate that one a little bit differently, or set it up a little bit differently, or up front say, hey, when you're doing these type things, this isn't going to be a 1-for-1 for how your team works. Yeah. We'll figure that piece out. So for me, I started sweating because now I'm in front of a group of 50.
I know, and you're getting paid, and so you gotta be
and
nice.
I really want to go toe to toe. Okay, I appreciate your impact. I actually had someone say when I was talking about takeaways and actions, they actually acknowledged that situation. They said, you showed great humility with this. That's something that all leaders need to have. I'm like, okay, good.
You're walking the walk.
Yeah. Okay. It was minefield for a few minutes. Yeah.
In the parking lot, everybody's like, hey, Stu's a jerk.
Yeah. I was going to say, Stu might be like that with any situation.
It might have been. And
but that brings up another question, though. So when you're doing these workshops, is it almost always, or is it a requirement that like top level leadership be there as well? Because I would think that a lot of times you might find, maybe it's not said or spoken at the event, but like a lot of people there are getting a lot from this, but they're wishing that the leaders could be involved too, because they need to be fine-tuned.
I've had that. So I've had that where the event was for like this echelon or this team, and I've had HR reps come up after and say, would you be willing to do this with our senior team? Because they could really use this. Yeah. They really could use this. Yep. I said, absolutely, connect me. I'm going to try my best, but I don't know if they're going to be receptive to it. So that's where I find, like you talk about long-term organizational change, Maria. I come in and I can give you the tools. Like, we're not going to fix world hunger in a day. Yeah. I'm going to give you an understanding. I'm going to give you tools. I'm going to help you build an action plan to put it to use. The work comes after that. Like, you've got to do the work with it.
Yep.
So the buy-in and the change, that comes from those combinations of multiple workshop engagement, one-on-one coaching, so that I can help coach you through the change that you're trying to make or the dynamics that you're trying to build within your. But that takes dedication, commitment, and time. Yeah.
Did you do active duty?
It was, yeah.
And where?
So I was on active duty from 2005 to about 2011. My 3 of those years I was a reservist, but I was on active orders. I spent time, my first duty station was Fort Irwin, California, out in the Mojave Desert. Okay. And then I deployed to FOB Spiker, Forward Operating Base Spiker in Iraq, right outside Tikrit, 2005. And then I spent time at Fort Carson, Colorado, Fort Bliss, Texas, and I finished my time up as an Army guy at Peterson Air Force Base and Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station in Colorado Springs.
You have to explain that to me.
Yes, Army's got my first assignment in Colorado there at Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station is the home of NORAD.
Okay.
So it was a joint type assignment where I was helping the watchstanders land domain desk get trained to go in to stand watch. So I was part of what's called the J73 Joint 73, which is training. So I would go into Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station every day, which is half-mile in Hardin facility in Colorado Springs. So the way that NORAD was set up was you've got air, space, cyber, and land. The Marines and Army staffed the land desk, Coast Guard and Navy, the sea desk, Air Force, this is before Space Force, Air Force staffed the air, space, and cyber desk, which within like the North American Northcom's watch, you've got the different domains that are looking out for threats and those type of things. So my job was to help rebuild the training and take it from a stack of 5-inch binders about 8 feet high to online, on demand with a closed loop system that they could actually practice at before they went in to the watch.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a good time with that. And then it was a good time. And then
it's nice to see our armed forces collaborating.
Right.
Oh, it is. So joint forces. Yeah. Oh, and we had Canadians too. They were the best. Captain Steve Wilson. I remember Steve Wilson. And actually at that assignment, I met my very best friend in life, Ethan Wilson, not related to Steve. Ethan was he's a retired Navy chief out in Colorado. Love Ethan. Steve Wilson was a Navy, Army guy in the Canadian Air Force, and he's eating an apple. I'm watching it. We're having lunch. He's eating an apple, and then he starts to eat the core. He ate the entire apple, stem, seeds, core, and all. And I'm looking at him with a dropped jaw. I said, Steve,
what are you doing?
What are you doing, buddy? He goes, oh. He goes, you ever seen Ice Road Truckers, the show? I said, no. He goes, Manitoba? He goes, yeah, I grew up about 50 miles north of there. If it was good enough for the horses, it was good enough for us. If it was good enough for the horses, it was good enough for us. That's how he ate his apples. He didn't waste anything. Now, Steve was I'm 6'3", 210. Steve was about 6'5", 250. He's just a huge, he'd fill a doorway guy.
Wow.
Ate the whole apple. But I got to work with some of the Canadians.
The next day, he brought in a bale of hay.
Yeah, I'm watching him. He's eating orange peel, the whole nine. I said, good for you.
Wow.
Good for you, Steve.
Getting your phone out.
Yeah.
Then my last assignment, actually, this was my last assignment in the Army. I was a captain. I was stationed at Peterson Air Force Base. And Peterson Air Force Base has the big 3 buildings, one of which is Space and Missile Defense Command, which is an Army command. And I was a space operations officer for the U.S. Army. Got out as a captain. And I got to learn all kinds of crazy science stuff that I never thought, like when you're sitting in your 9th grade class on physics or learning how to do advanced mathematics, and you think it's never going to come into play. And then fast forward about a decade or so, and you find yourself saying, yep, I remember that. Okay, yep, I remember how far is the sun from the earth and all kinds of crazy type stuff. But had a blast with that because to me, that brought me back to small team leadership again. I was a crew officer in charge. I had about 10 soldiers, and they were brand spanking new, right out of their basic training and advanced individual training, assigned to this unit that we were building up from scratch, essentially. So I actually stayed a year longer than I had to. I signed up for a year because I wanted to get that team trained and capable. And we were actually the first Army Reserve crew to be trained and stamped off on in our mission set, which was a pretty cool accomplishment. I was able to do with my soldiers there. Yeah.
I was just wondering where you've got this thirst for organization. And I guess you saw it in the military, you see it firsthand. And when lack of organization shows up, there's a problem.
Yeah, and there's some dichotomies in the military that there's misconceptions of, it's top-down leadership and do as I say and I give an order and people go, and that is not the case. And I think as we continue to shift, those junior soldiers, they have access to information the same as I did as a captain and a lieutenant. So access to information is there. Their curiosity is there. And what I find is if I just led, one of the things that I think is unique about me is the teams I've led, I've never actually done the function or role of the person I've led. Okay. So I led a space operations crew, and we had satellite equipment operators, we had IT specialists, we had signals analysts. I'd never been one of those, but here I am responsible to lead this team. I'm not the subject matter expert. I'm the team leader. So my style of leadership then, I had to develop this empowering style. You're a specialist, I'm a captain. Yep, I'm higher ranked than you. We don't need to talk about that because you can see it. It's all over our uniforms. But I need your voice. I need to know your expertise. I need to know what you know, or ask, or be able to ask you questions, because at the end of the day, I own the decision, but we need to come up with something together. So I don't want to put ourselves in harm's way or put ourselves in a position where we screw something up and harm other people or equipment or what have you, when I could have just held off the embarrassment of not knowing just by asking a simple question, what do you think we should do? So I really developed that with that team, this idea of how can we share leadership? How can I pull out the best in you, give you the reins so that you can lead in your zone of genius? I can step back and follow. And then it just ebbs and flows. And that space operations crew was one of the times that came out the most. I went through the 16-week training. I got the cool guy space operations badge certified. So I knew about that much. My soldiers spent like 30 weeks at their advanced individual training. 30. Learning equipment, learning the science, learning their role. I went through a 16-week course to understand like the wave tops.
The wave tops.
Why fake that? I'm not going to fake that. I know that your job is good as you. You know it. I would tell my soldiers that. You know it better than anybody. Let's get communication set up. Here's how we're going to coordinate. This is how we're going to approach problem solving. You're going to be an active member, not just waiting to be told, what to do. So I learned that organization side really is more, what systems can I put in place for my team to be able to maneuver in and effectively perform in? If I'm the one doing the work, we've got a problem. Because I've got a team of
16
people.
hours, that's not enough.
Yeah. I mean, that week compared to like intensive 30-some weeks of training, like you're not, yeah.
You both need each other. Or you all need
Absolutely.
each other. That's what's interesting.
We all have a role to play.
Sorry, go ahead.
This has me thinking about taking personal leadership. So I coach people one-on-one, and sometimes it's within organizations, and they may technically be like a supervisor, but they may not be, right? But I try to explain sometimes that when situations arise, there are opportunities for people to step into their own personal leadership and be leaders, even if they're not necessarily leading other people.
1,000%. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that for the people who are listening, because I think that's something that we don't usually associate when we think of leadership is, I can do that just with myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different avenues to take that, Maria. And I think first and foremost for me is you think about leadership as a process, not a position. I grew up in the Army's definition, paraphrasing, that leadership is the ability to influence others towards a shared goal or objective. I've had people who are subordinate to me lead me, influence through their knowledge, skills, expertise, communication. So when I think first, like your ability to lead yourself, are you on time? Are you prepared? Are you competent? Or do you have high character? Are people coming to you? Like you can show up and start to build those leadership attributes that when you put into action, contribute to the process of leadership. You don't need a title for that. You can do that each and every day as a member of a team. You can prepare yourself to lead. And then when you get into situations that require your expertise, then you're ready to influence. You're trusted. You've put the reps in. You've put the money into the character bank so that it's your time to shine. Step in. If I'm a formal team leader, I should be trying to give you those skill sets, those abilities that you can hone over time so that when I'm not here, the team is still being led. You're leading each other. And if I'm not the expert, if I'm not the best, then I can pull somebody up who is and then take a support role to that. And it just ebbs and flows throughout. So when you're thinking about what is leadership, a lot of people go to an image of a person.
Yeah.
Okay, take the next step. What is it about that? It's their abilities. Okay, where did they hone those or where did they use those abilities? Well, in this. So it's a process. So if you start to drill down 2 or 3 layers, you can get to the fact of leadership is a process. It's not a position. It's not necessarily a person. People can lead each other. So reframing that really, I think, will help your clients. And I know you do a wonderful job with them, but if people listening out there can sit back and think, you start by leading yourself each and every day, then you could influence others. And then as you progress through different echelons of organizational hierarchy, then you're leading an organization. So to be a leader, leading leaders who lead leaders, you're talking like big scale organization. It's a different set of skills, but you can start by honing those each and every day.
Yeah. Where would someone start?
So for someone starting out who's interested in leadership and thinking about the process, when you start with yourself, look at an honest self-assessment. What are my strong points? What am I good at? What are my weak points? Where can I leverage my strong points the most? And then the question I come back to is, are my weak points career-ending detrimental weak points? If not, I have a different opinion, then don't work on those. Now, if they're career ending, like you can't get along with somebody or you find yourself unable to control your emotions, those are career enders. You need to work on those. But if it's just, I'm not comfortable in a certain situation, okay, you'll figure that out. Put more time and effort into refining those skills that you are good at and growing, and find opportunities to leverage those skills. So you find yourself as like an analyst, but you're not so confident in speaking. You're capable of it, but you don't have the experience. Ask your formal team leader, hey, I put this together. Can I help you build the presentation? Or can I help you present? Or can I have a small piece of this to start to insert yourself? So when you think about understanding yourself first, and then the second thing is knowing where you want to be and how and who you want to help. Find opportunities to practice that each and every day, because you can practice the process of leadership.
Even at home.
Even at home.
In
Doesn't
your
have to be
family,
at work. Absolutely.
with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a friend coming to you constantly about something, then practice not just allowing them to vent emotions, but driving them towards a creative solution, because then you can put that into place at work. Now, if you're having that over margaritas, it may not be as fun just to hit that emotional button, but practice that skill set of, yeah, I hear you. Okay, what'd you do about it? Did you think about this? Did you try that? Do you want my help? Let me ask that question first. Are you wanting that? So you can find situations inside and outside of work to hone your leadership skills. Coach, I tell everybody, if you want to hone leadership skills, coach a youth sport. You get a bunch of 5 to 8 year olds or 8 to 10 year olds and parents, and you want to talk about patience and adaptability and resilience and perseverance. Like, coach a youth sport, and you're gonna have plenty of opportunity to learn how to lead formally and informally. Yeah.
That's great. I love it. This is my public service announcement. If everybody wants to pay that, I've always said this. Best role for a parent is assistant coach, not the head coach, because the assistant helps with the kids. And then when the parents come to them, you're like, yeah, you're going to have to talk to the coach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've
You don't
spent
have to
time
put
on
game
both.
plans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
I like that.
I say roped in. I got asked and applied to coach high school girls volleyball. Did that for 2 seasons. And that was a character building.
Sure it was. How long was your list of thank yous you got?
Zero thank yous. But no, we had a good time. So I helped coach travel AU as my oldest daughter was progressing. AU, I was the assistant, which was the best job, because it was just like you said, we're having fun, we're teaching, we're imparting knowledge, you're pepping people up. What do you need, coach? Let me help you with that. And then we swapped roles for the high school program.
Yep.
And I was the one that was dealing with the girls,
Parents.
the athletic director, a parent here and there. I got lucky. So my first season was during COVID, and our school didn't allow parents into the stands. They streamed it. So our first half of season, I said, "This is great." This is they're watching. Whatever they're saying to me, they're saying from afar, so I can't hear them anyways. But no, I had a good time doing that, and it was, again, you're working with these young ladies, and I told them in my interview, they're going to learn emotional intelligence. They're going to learn They're going to learn these life skills through the sport of volleyball. I'm not an expert in volleyball, but we're going to learn how to communicate. We're going to learn how to support. We're going to learn how to work as a team. And they can translate those skills into life. And we're going to have fun doing it while we're playing volleyball.
How'd they do? Were they great?
No, they were good. They were good, not great. Man, the last season, we were so close. We were 1 point away from going to districts, which the team hadn't breached that. And I always say, I didn't coach as long as I should. Your first season, you're coaching the previous coach's team. My philosophy, you didn't put that team together. So the next year, the very next season, that team went to districts. Yeah, so good on them.
Good job.
Yeah. They did a good job. They beat their crosstown rivals for the first time in the 4 years that those girls had been there, beat them twice. So that was small victories. But yeah, we had a good time with it. They had a good time. There was great young ladies. I wouldn't change anything for the world for that experience.
That's great.
Yeah.
Every assistant coach has that 1 or 2 times a season where the head coach is like, hey, I can't be there to run practice, or can you just take it? And they're like, oh my God, it's just a huge level of stress.
Anxiety goes up, bullets start sweating. Yeah, sure, I can, coach. That's no problem.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge the term that there are no stupid questions.
Oh, okay.
Every single thing we've talked about in here today has been about collaboration and trying to get the teams working together. And a lot of it was about leadership. Does anybody ever give a class about how to be a good follower?
Oh, you know what? I actually came across that in my dissertation.
Okay.
And not my chair, but one of the professors said, hey, I want you to look at, he gave me like 3 or 4 research papers to read through, and it was about followership.
Yeah.
It was specifically about followership and how to be a good follower. And then as soon as I started reading them, I remember back to my time as a ROTC cadet. At our advanced leadership camp, you had to peer rate your small group of like 8 cadets that you were with. Each person took a turn leading, which means if I'm a
follower,
poor follower for you, and now I'm going to step into a leadership role,
right?
How is that going to be reciprocated?
Right.
Not very well. So understanding followership to me is just as important as understanding how to lead.
That's what I'm
So
getting.
there's not a lot, you're right though, there's not a lot of specific how to follow teams. So when I get into some of the workshops that I do, the vernacular is team building and leadership development. But what I get into is not just the leadership aspect, but the team dynamic. And the team dynamic is, for collaboration, is trust and mutual support. And I hit on the reciprocal piece of, it's not just top-down leader to follower that you've got to build. You've got to also trust your leader, and you've got to support each other. So it's like this 360-degree sphere. Yeah. But that's not as common to read in literature and Forbes and Harvard Business Review magazine. It's leadership and team, but there's not a lot of specific followership research or topics out there.
I think that the story for me was in my office. We at one point in time, before, we have a lot of different locations now, but it was most everything going out of the same office. And the one day I had 2 meetings with 2 or 3 hours in between, and I thought, I'm not going back to my house to work. I'm just going to work in the lobby right next to where the receptionist was. And I just sat at that desk and I got nothing done. It was just traffic, people coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Just people being wonderful people. Like, hey, how's it going, Bob? I didn't know you were here today. And it's just a mini conversation. And I thought, it's so hard for the person that sits at this desk to get all these things done, knowing that what I know. I walked in her shoes for that day. And I was like, I get it now. Like, we were throwing wasn't a knock on the person sitting at the desk, but we were throwing some deeper thought things on their plate, and they were having a hard time getting that done. And now I get it. You're going deep on a project, you need a little quiet, at least uninterrupted. And that's not the place to get it. So walking in the shoes of somebody, when you're constantly only looking at it from your perspective, it makes you say, I think that you can connect the dots better.
Yeah. The retail company I worked at briefly between the Army and coming out here, part of their supervisor training, their team leader training, was you spent a week on the floor with your team members doing their job. So before I actually became the executive trainer for my department. And it was, welcome, here's the company's corporate culture. Next week, wear your work clothes, and you're going to shadow this person. You're going to spend an entire shift with them. Yeah. Side by side. They're going to teach you, and then they're going to be Overwatch.
You're like undercover boss.
But it was part of which blew my mind, it was part of their program. So before you were allowed, quote unquote, to lead a team on your own, you had 12 weeks of training that you had to go through. And one of those weeks was doing the job of the person that you were leading. Man, that is great to have that kind of upfront investment.
Yeah. Which illustrates the point. Credit to you and to those that worked with you when you're collaborating, all those folks that you only had limited training on what they were doing. They were the SMEs, the subject matter experts, but to come in there not having walked that walk, yet they responded to you and it worked out well. So kudos to you.
No, I appreciate that. I see that, and I see that with junior leaders here. I try to coach and help work through is you've got to be comfortable being vulnerable. You've got to show humility. And it's not I had someone push back on me one time. Doesn't your team need confidence in you and your skill set? I said, yes, they do. But do you think that they think that you're omnipotent and you know everything about everything? I said, trust me. I said, the team, and this was, again, at the retailer in their distribution network. Young man, was right out of college. It was his first job out of college. He was leading team members that have been there for 20 years. I said, trust me, they know. They know. You don't have to, don't fake it because they'll see right through it. Just
that's a good point.
Be humble, ask questions, be curious, be open to learning, and they'll help you. But if you try to just impart your will and act like you know what their job is and like you're the expert, they'll eat you alive.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is there's some of us that think we think we know everything, and when you walk out of the room, everybody's like, I don't think he's as smart as he thinks he is.
Right? Yeah. I'm sure I've been caught in that trap.
I'm sure I should be asked that because I'm not as smart as I think I am.
I feel like people don't say that about me. I'm like, oh, she's not smart.
You're
I don't even
kind of
pretend I'm smart.
It's tough because you're on an island on some of the stuff.
Yeah.
You do a lot of collaboration with a lot of different people to bring together for projects.
I feel like all of my clients are my partners in some capacity. I don't ever feel like I'm in charge of anything. It's really collaborative.
How do you like bouncing between industry? Because I imagine like your clients are probably spread across different industries. So are mine. Do you find it difficult or challenging to step into a different industry, or do people stiff arm and say, "What? You've never worked in automotive industry before? What do you know?"
No, I love it. I'm a Gemini, so variety, bring it on.
Yeah, I find that too.
Yeah.
So I'm facilitating workshops for higher ed, and it was again the one that was on non-tenure track STEM professors, and the person setting the workshop up said they're underserved, they get battered because if you're not tenure, you're nothing. I said, I didn't even know this existed.
Mm-hmm.
So a month prior to setting up the workshop, I said, well, let me do some research. Let me do some reading. There's research papers on it. There's published literature on the divide between tenure and non-tenure track and what the outcomes are and what the impacts are. So, holy smokes. So usually what I'll do is I'll try to understand just at least a little bit about the industry, enough to be able to tailor a message or make the stories come to life and relatable that I share during those workshops. But I like the challenge of I'm working with a tax accounting firm, or I'm working with a higher education, or I'm working with whatever it may be, and trying to understand a little bit more.
I think for me, it's a little bit different. I was wearing my designer hat when you asked me that question. In that capacity, you do learn about the industry, but it's more about who they are and what their core values are. But it's the same with coaching. I'm coaching one-on-one. When I'm speaking to a crowd, I want to know a little bit more about their industry and what their common vernacular is, maybe some of their common pain points. But when it comes to one-on-one, like, we're all humans.
Oh, yeah.
I'm peeling back all the layers. We're going deep.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, we're all really similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun stuff too, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, so if I'm a company, or I'm somebody interested in having you come into our company, how do I reach out?
Yeah, I have a website, drwilliamramey.com. A little bit about that website. It's got some options for workshops, contact information there. LinkedIn, highly active on LinkedIn, Dr. William Ramey. People can connect with me there and drop me a DM, or you can email me, wbramey03@gmail.com. Those are probably the best ways to do. I'm active and pride myself on trying to be as responsive as possible, usually within 4 to 12 hours. I'll reach back.
Travel?
Anywhere in the world. So I've done workshops for insurance companies in San Diego. I've done software companies in Seattle, Dallas, Texas, you name it, Virginia. So I've not gone global yet, but I do have a passport if people are out there listening and looking. But anywhere in the continental United States, especially the Northeast.
Okay.
And you have your own podcast. Yeah.
I do. I have my own podcast, Leadership Decoded. It's a show about 15, 16 minutes to cover a different leadership topic. Try to break that down, what research says, and then how to take those concepts and put them into action. That way leaders can just lead at their best, whether at home, at work, wherever they can. Love it.
Anything else you want to...
Oh, I just...
knowledge you want to drop? Any last...
No, I appreciate the opportunity to come on and share a little bit about myself and my business and life. I really do appreciate opportunities to share stories, engage with people. And my purpose out there is to serve others so that they can lead at their best and affect positive change. So if any way, shape, or form I can do that, that brings me fulfillment, joy, and purpose in my life. So if you're out there listening, find that passion, go through the trials and tribulations. But when you find what you like, trust your gut and follow it.
Love it.
Anything I say will bring it down from there. So thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate
Nailed
it.
it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well
thank
done,
you.
Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a wrap on today's episode of Beyond the Bottom Line. Thank you for listening. If this conversation sparked something for you, please let us know. Follow, share, or leave a review. It helps us keep having the conversations we love that you love to listen to. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more real talk from real leaders. Until then, here's to feeling successful beyond the bottom line.